Good evening, welcome to Leicester Fan TV. My name's Phil. This is your Monday night Fan Zone show. We're here for the next 30 minutes. And of course, we want to talk about what you want to talk about. The shambles at Newcastle, or do you want to talk about Wolves, new managers, all that is going to go on Sunday? We're here for the next 30 minutes. It's going to be joined from Kate, who is from Leicester Till I Die. Tom will be joining us as well, and maybe Reedy if he sorts out his tech kit. But we want to know what you think about Saturday's game and next Sunday's game. So join us for the next 30 minutes.
The Leicester City machine is on the march again.
Leicester Fan TV presents a variety of content like fan discussions, match analysis, and engaging with Leicester fans worldwide. We want your views live, thanks to our sponsors, Everard's, Pucker Pies, Hologram, Take Me, Newbie & Co, and the Fox's Arms.
Want to watch more content like this? Hit the like button. Give us your views. Hit subscribe to Leicester Fan TV and make sure to follow Leicester Fan TV on all socials.
Yes, good evening, welcome. Don't forget you can follow us at Leicester Fan TV on whatever social media you want to. As ever, we want to get your comments in. Good evening, Nick. Hope you're well. What did you think, Nick, to Saturday's game? Dorco says we were rubbish, end off. It was just, honestly, a shambles. Was it public defending? It looked like it, a lot of it. Good evening, Richie. Let's forget about the Newcastle game and let's concentrate on the Wolves game. A lot of fans will be wanting to do that, Richie, but I think we need to pick the bones out of Saturday's game as well a little bit. Good evening to Nigel and good evening to Craig. Let me know what you think about the games coming up. Mark says Vesterpoo and Cody are far too slow for Premier League players with pace, and Ward already proved he's not good enough anymore. I mean, listen, I'm not going to I think a lot of fans laid into Danny Ward a bit unfairly and made him the scapegoat. There was 10 players stood in front of him who were a bag of spanners on Saturday, if you ask me. Scooby Bass says, upstairs seriously need to look at our club and players very quickly. Well, that January transfer window is opening in, 14 days? I hope they've got some plans. I really do. Terry, good evening to you. Hope you're well. Scott says, what's our war chest in terms of transfer funds? Give us some good news. I haven't got a clue. I don't know if we're suddenly going to be able to find some money under the bed at the King Power Stadium. Who knows? What do you reckon, Scott? Nick says, not nice to see or say, but we've just had confirmation of a poor team, shocking recruitment, and a waste of a world-class training establishment. Nick, listen, there's a lot of the season left to go, but my opinion hasn't changed from whether it was Steve Cooper or if it's Ruud van Nistelrooy. You've got to look at the players. You've got to look at that squad. I've said all along, I think it's a bottom 6 squad at best. At the moment, it's looking more like a bottom 4 squad. I hope we're not in the bottom 3. Rudy, good evening, says, good first 10 minutes, then fell apart. It was a shambles in there. Scooby says, what a massive game now against Wolves. I know, and sod's law, they've sacked their manager. Anyway, let's get Kate in from Leicester Till I Die, and Tom. Kate, good evening. Tom, good evening. How are you, Kate?
Yeah, I'm all right, thank you. How are you?
Yes, very good. So, Kate, yeah, you're from Leicester Till I Die, another Leicester fanzine. You were at the match on Saturday against Newcastle. I'm calling it a shambles. I thought all 10 players apart from Hermansen were pretty useless. And then Danny Ward came on and made it 11 useless. What was your take from being at the match? Am I too hard?
Short answer, very much identical. But I think you take the central midfield out of any team and they're going to look radically different and have, struggles in the centre of the park, which I think where most of our struggles came from. I thought defensively we started off okay. We had a good sort of opening 10 minutes or so. And then after that, it just all fell apart, didn't it? And I don't think Hamza and Skip could get to grips. I've seen a few of their stats and there wasn't, I don't think, one tackle made, one duel, one, fairly embarrassing kids stuff, to be honest. So pushing through the part, whether defensively or from an attacking point of view, was always going to be really difficult anyway. And I said before the match that Hamza and Skip were going to have to work their socks off, and they didn't. And I felt like they were both chasing shadows. There was so much space for Joe Linton to run in. We made Newcastle look Rolls Royce, and it was down to our own ineptness, basically, rather than them being brilliant. But look, the positive is I wasn't expecting to go to St James's Park and win, even with a strong 11. I think we could have got a draw on a good day, but our season won't be defined and we won't be relegated because we lost at St James's Park. It'll be all about the points snatched for Brighton, the win against West Ham, hopefully the victory this weekend, which is why this Sunday is now absolutely massive.
Yeah, indeed. Let's get a couple of comments on before we come to you, Tom. Dorco says we'll have to sell Mads and get 2 or 3 decent outfield players in January. Patrick Hook says West Ham, Everton and Palace are getting their acts together. It's 3 from bottom 4 to go down in there. Nigel says, is there any truth in the rumour going around that KDH is coming home? I would say, Nigel, no. I don't think the Premier League would allow us to sell him and then have him back, let alone I don't think it would work. Tom, Kate's just said there, put it very succinctly, Hamza Chowdhury and Skip made 1 tackle. What on earth is going on when you've got 2 people? It doesn't matter the quality or whatever. You've got to put in more than 1 tackle.
There's different levels of player in the division, aren't there, really? And let's be honest, Hamza Chowdhury is not a Premiership player, never will be a Premiership player. He's a good Championship squad player. We saw that last year, and he'll put his heart and soul into it. But against better quality players, I mean, Skip's barely kicked a ball for us this year, and you can tell that by his performance. You know, he looks lost. He didn't look anywhere knowledgeable with what players were doing around him. Yes, he did all right against Brighton, and he helped set the goal up. But, you know, you've gone from 2 big, bustly midfielders in Didi and especially Boubakary Samari, who were against West Ham and Brighton, bossing it in there and making big tackles, to 2 very lightweight players who just aren't up to the standard of these 2. Skip, you don't know. I like Oliver Skip, and I think there's a very good player in there, but you've got to have someone with him to win the ball back and help Skip start the play. We just did nothing at the weekend. Like, I think Kay got spot on. There was just nothing out there. Mads was once again the player of the game and player of the season so far, with the amount of saves he's made. And as soon as you take a player of that quality off, and not blaming Danny Ward, but it's just completely different team, isn't it, really? And the belief in the players looked like they'd gone as soon as Mads had gone off the pitch, if I'm honest with you. I think that's a confidence thing as well. You look at behind you see Danny Ward, or you see Mads Hermansen, who's made save after save after save. And I believe if Mads Hermansen is out long term, we are in for a big problem, unless he has the guts to pay Slarchek, who last year came in and did a great job for us.
But I'm going to pick you up slightly on that, Tom. I'm going to ask Kate it, because Todge Dixon, who's watching on X, says our whole back line looked lost and confused against Newcastle United to me. Tom said they hadn't played with more confidence because Mads was behind them. I slightly disagree on Saturday. I thought everybody in front of Hermansen kept us in it. He made at least 4 top saves in that first half. I don't think they played any better or worse. It was just Danny Ward's the worst keeper in the second half. But I don't want to make him, Kate, the scapegoat. I don't think it was Danny Ward's fault, particularly, that we lost 4-0.
No, and I feel sometimes if we'd have won 4-1, the 1 goal would have been Danny Ward's fault as well.
Yes,
that amongst the fan base sometimes, and whilst I've looked at the goals back tonight, because I watched it yesterday, I looked at it back tonight as well, and whilst you can absolutely argue his positioning is off, there is pretty much nothing he can do about all of the goals. The short corner was an absolute joke. Mavadidi had 3 players. It's a free cross into the box, free run into the box. Then we've got the free kick, which I hate how we line up for free kicks. We have this big line of 20 players. All the guys got to do is drop it on the penalty spot and you're into goal. And that happened again, back post, easy header and straight in the back of the net. There's certain things that Ward couldn't have done. I understand the concept that your defence can be confident if you've got a really good keeper behind you. But I don't think the players are going out there thinking Danny Ward's really, really shit. Danny Ward's got quite a pedigree, quite a CV on him. And I think the players need to be held accountable. I'm not really sure why they're getting off the hook with this, because
no, I don't.
It's an absolute joke in the middle of the park defensively, like the final goal with Isak. I was just shouting, Vestergaard, foul him,
yes.
take him out. And he didn't. And Ward had a very difficult job there. And I think in the first 15 minutes, the word I would describe is shell-shocked, because he didn't know which end was which.
Well, Kate, I mean, you say about Vestergaard, I've watched it back again tonight before we've done this. And Vestergaard, for their goals, he's not defending. It's just running backwards.
He looked like that. He just
looks like an idiot.
Just take him out. Just take him out. I don't know if
Do
you remember last
something.
time we played Newcastle in the Premiership when Yuri should have made the foul and took the guy out, and instead he ran up and scored and made it 2-1. Well, I was shouting to Yuri, like, foul him, take him out, like just do it. So I understand Ward's positioning was terrible for a lot of the goals, and he looked like one of those. I mean, the last time I played a FIFA game was Kickoff 2 in 1994. And it's one of those goalkeepers where you just press the button and it jumps about a bit. And that's kind of what Ward looked like. But the build up to the goal, the chances were easy to bury. And I don't think that can be on him, really.
I mean, Tom, I thought Buonanotte maybe could have started because he's been one of our better players. And again, I question slightly. I know the manager, you want two central defensive sort of midfielders, but sometimes, and I've said this under, not so much Enzo, but certainly under Brendan Rodgers, is yes, when everybody has players out injured, sometimes you have to look at the players that are left and your jigsaw pieces and go, I am going to have to change a bit of formation here because chucking Hamza Chowdhury in first game in 20 months was a big ask away there, Tom. Could he have started Buonanotte and changed the system?
He could have started Buonanotte. You could have played like he did towards the end and brought one of the defenders forward, like he did with Cody as when he brought Oakley on. I think there's a few things like rude. I think, do you know what? This loss is probably a good thing in some ways. And people say why, but I think it will make Van Nistelrooy stand up and look at this even more than he had before. I think the defensive side, Kate hit the nail on the head. Our setup plays, we've got a set piece coach. And I don't get it. The whole of that game, their biggest threat was Big Dan Burns. So why the hell have we not got Vestergaard marking their biggest man? You got players like Daka and that lot, but marking big men, and we're doing zonal marking, what we've done for the past 2-3 seasons, what has not worked. We still keep going with a zonal marking system that leaves us open. And the first half, Big Dan Burn had a hatful of chances to score goals before, in the game, before they actually punished us with a set piece again. Look at it. It's a simple little 1-2 on the edge of the area. They run into the box and nobody's marking Murphy on the edge of the area. I'm not being funny, but with all the men in the box, surely one person can pull out wide and see that there's a danger there. As for Buonanotte starting, look, a lot of fans have been calling for Mavididi for the last 3-4 games.
It was rubbish.
But he just strolls around the park. There isn't enough, aggression when he gets the ball to go down the line and get the crossing. What we've seen him do against Villa from the goal for Buonanotte in that game. You just want to see him run at his man. He's got all the skills. He's got all the tricks and ability to go past players. But for some reason, he gets the ball and he just stops. And 30 seconds later, he goes backwards. Same with McAtee's another one, gets the ball and just turns back. We want to see wingers run at the men. When we get that opportunity, we've got to go forward quicker. There's too much backwards, at my view. You've got to get the ball forward quicker. I'd play Buonanotte, I'd play El Khanous. They're your two most creative players we've got at the moment. They're really confident. El Khanous is flying at the moment. Didn't really get involved in the game of the weekend because we didn't get the ball to him quick enough. And when we did get the ball to him, there was no space and there was no vision of anyone going forward. It was all very panicky, very much, well, where do I go now? I don't want to bomb on too far because we're going to get caught out. There was no aggression in our game like we'd seen against West Ham and Brighton, especially in the second half, to actually, we're going to take a risk here and we've got to go for it. Okay, Brighton was different with 2-0 down, but even during the game in the first half at 1-0, we were more aggressive with our play. Yes, we're very much about cutting inside, about the over fullbacks overlapping, Christian and Justin trying to get forward and cross it in. You see that in the warm-up now when they do the warm-up, Christian and Justin both crossing balls into the box and then practicing this whole system with them two getting into it. But the problem you got is Justin confidence at right back now is shot. Christian gets caught out of position too many times. We saw it in the Euros in the summer, how many times he got caught out and he ended up getting dropped by Denmark for it. He's doing it for us now. We got to strengthen this squad for me. Buonanotte has to play when he's fit. There's rumours that he's not been fit all season. What worries me a little bit that he's not been fit for a young lad like that. But if he's fit, he's got to play. And you've got to get a system where you've got Buonanotte and El Khanous playing. And like for me, the likes of Mavididi, if he wants a game, he's got to prove his worth. And at the moment, he's had the chance. It didn't work.
I seem to be in a running battle, chatting with Reedy, who I'll get Reedy on in a minute, where Reedy demands that Mavididi starts, and then Mavididi starts, and then we have a discussion and go, he doesn't offer that much. I've watched some of it back, and there's times we lost the ball in their half, and Mavididi's just like in treacle, not coming back to win it. Kate, Dorco says here, if Ruud van Nistelrooy loves 4-4-2 so much, why isn't he playing 4-4-2? My question is a bit more than that to you, Kate. I struggled on Saturday to see what, I know Tom's been on about this with Cooper before, but identity and formation, it just, I used the word shambles, Kate, about Saturday, because I couldn't see what on earth we were trying to do when we didn't have the ball at least and trying to defend.
Yeah, me neither. I mean, if you find the answer to that, then submit it in writing, I think. But I think the plan was, and JJ was quite honest, wasn't he? Like he said after the game in his interview that he was really disappointed in his own performance and how the players executed what was a good plan. So it's interesting to see what they thought the plan was and why they didn't execute it in such a way. But I do think that we were looking to win the ball in the middle of the park and get it out to the wingers. But the problem was, I don't think Ruud understood how far off the mark Skip and Hamza would be. And like Tom said earlier, I think it's a good thing that Ruud got to see the full extent of the squad, or lack thereof, and he knows what areas he needs to cover now. But in terms of the 4-4-2, I would like to see that, and I'd love to know at what particular phase in the early to mid 2000s this became unfashionable, because you've got like Shearer and Sheringham, Shearer and Ferdinand, Shearer and Sutton, Dwight York and Andy Cole. Like, why is it all of a sudden unpopular? I don't really understand it. I thought we did well when Daka came on with Vardy the other week. I thought that was something else for the defences to think about. But whatever it was, I think Ruud can wholeheartedly say it wasn't executed right. And that's probably because there's a lack of concentration within that team for whatever reason. There's a lack of focus, and there is a lot of really bad habits. And I think some of this goes back to Brendan, where it's not working. The first 10 minutes, I think the plan was going to plan. And then your mind sets in, your habits set in, and you go back to what you know, which is some of the stuff that Tom said as well, getting past the halfway line and passing backwards because you've got Enzo in your head telling you not to lose possession rather than take a risk and try and beat your man. So there's a lot going on there, which basically, in a nutshell, a lot of that team shouldn't cut it in the Premier League. And like you say, Phil, I think we're a bottom six squad as well at the minute.
I'm afraid I have been saying it all season. When we came into the season, there's nothing wrong with being a bottom six squad. You just don't want to be in the bottom three, and I still think we could escape it. Mark says here, Tom, is this team more Championship than Premier League? I don't really want to get into that because I feel like we have got a team that can escape relegation, Tom. But we're just starting to look forward towards Wolves on Sunday, and if it wasn't, again, the win against West Ham, I still put down to they had 31 chances on goal and could have, a different day, they could have beaten us. Ipswich, the game after that against Brighton, we got the draw, late draw. So they could have been different. Suddenly that Wolves game, Tom, on Sunday looks absolutely critical, doesn't it, for us?
Firstly, it's about time we had a bit of luck, isn't it, for a game? Let's be honest, we've not had many of them where we've been lucky over the last few years, where teams have come and pummeled our goal and not scored 4 or 5 in certain games. So look, it was nice to get a bit of luck against West Ham, and we were lucky. Brighton, probably say we were lucky in that game in the first half. It wasn't more than the 1-0. But I'd rather have gone into this game against Wolves than picking a point up against Ipswich and Gary O'Neill still be in charge. Let's put it that way. Then going into this game with possibly a new manager to impress. I think they're talking about they've got Pereira, I think it is, coming in as their new manager, possibly in the next 24, 48 hours. It'll give the players a lift. The only thing Leicester can look into this game is that they've got one player suspended who's a starter for them, and El Khannouri could be another one suspended after he's elbowing someone in the back of the head and ripping off some glasses. So if he doesn't get punished for that before the Leicester game, then there is seriously some corruption in the Premier League that a player can do that and not get a ban. At least he's got to get a ban for that. Leicester have got to go in the game and play like I did at West Ham. They've got to be fearless. They've got to go into it with aggression. They can't just sit back and think, well, let Wolves come on to us. Yes, we're going to play counter-attacking football, but we've got to be better with the ball. That's something we didn't do at all on Saturday. We weren't good with the ball at all. I think every time we got the ball, was it 2-3 passes and we'd lost it again? Or we went on to Vardy and Vardy was just getting outbeaten in the air. Ruud, I think, will be more drilling into the boys about this game more than anyone at the will be. He will be telling these boys, you've got to use the ball better. We'll come up with a better plan. I think you hit the nail on the head, okay. I shared it the day that JJ's comments was an interesting one. To say what he said, that the manager set us up with a good game plan. Didn't hear that once under Cooper from any of the players. There was no thing like that from the players saying the gaffer set us up with a good game plan. The players didn't execute it right. Not once. So JJ to come out and say that the gaffer had given us a really good platform to go and play and a way of getting something from the game, and for him to admit that all the players let him down, fair play to him, because that takes some guts, because not one of them came out when Cooper was in charge to say that. So I think they'll be going back in this week. They've got another full week. He's been here 2 weeks. Van Nistelrooy ain't going to get his full tactics into this team yet. It's going to take time. Setbacks are going to happen along the way against, like we did against Newcastle, and there'll be other games where we lose 3 or 4-0 this season. Can guarantee it now, but it's how they recover and how they show in the next game how to perform, and if they can recover from a loss like they have. And I think Van Nistelrooy will get a big reaction on Sunday against Wolves, because Vardy won't be sitting there having it now. We saw what happened last season when things were going off. Vardy pulled them all to one side, regrouped, they went again. I think that'll be very, very much similar this week. Pull the players to one side. It's gone now, but we get a good positive result at the weekend.
Let's get Reedy in. Reedy was up there. I know Kate was up there. Reedy, you've titled this whole show. You titled it. Let's put it on screen what you decided to call the show tonight. Let's move on and forget about it. So, Reedy, why did you want to call it that? Just
I think because of everything that's gone on the last couple of weeks with Renrude's been in charge. I think if you said 4 points out of the last 3 games, you'd take it. I don't think we got it right against Newcastle. I will admit that. But when you've got the likes of Ndidi and Sumari out who make 10 tackles plus a game, instead of having the ball going straight through the midfield into your defensive line, that alone is the reason why our defense was so much more worse than it has been in the last couple of games. So for me, is like Kate said at the start of the show, it's not going to define our season if we lost to Newcastle. It's about beating Wolves. It's about beating West Ham. It's about getting, I wouldn't say a lucky draw, but a good draw against bigger teams than ourselves. So for me, I'd say just move on. Don't look at this game too much in a way of, yes, it was a bad game, but don't drop players for certain issues, because I think the last 2 games before, we've seen that they've played well enough to earn their spot. So for me, I don't think you can really look at this game thinking it's all kind of shit at the fan, I guess. So
Kate, like Reedy said there, move on. The Wolves game's important. The Wolves game really is important, Kate, because after that you get the likes of Man City and Liverpool. And I know Man City are in a bit of a pickle, but the Wolves game, Kate, could be one of those season-defining games when we get to the end of the season, couldn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Wolves are obviously in a massive state of flux at the moment. I'm hoping that they've not got a manager appointed by the weekend. They've got the worst defence in the league. We're second worst defence in the league, so it probably will be a goal fest. It'll be interesting to see how both defences set up. And Wolves will be absolutely seeing this as one of their critical games as well, because I looked at their fixtures, and their fixtures coming up after us are Man United, Spurs, Forest, Newcastle, Chelsea, Arsenal, Villa, then Liverpool.
Ouch.
So they will be seeing this as
That's
3
tough.
points is an absolute must. They're playing 5 out the top 6 in the next 6 games, I think, after us. So it's an absolute stinker of a fixture list from them. So they will be up for it because they'll have a point to prove. Some of them will be hanging their heads in shame because some of the behaviour from their players over the past couple of weeks has been awful. And I'm sure their fan base think the same, because I'm sure we would. But we're at home. We've done well at home lately, and the fans are definitely needed. We need to forget Newcastle. Completely understand why Reedy's captioned that. They're a decent team. They're going for Europe. We're not near those levels anymore, and hopefully we'll be in time. But for now, we've just got to beat who's below and around us, and we'll stay up if we do that.
Tom, what's your thoughts on Wolves? We're talking about it being a massive game, and it actually is going to be one of those critical games in the season. Obviously, we're not getting to predicting we're going to win, we're going to lose, but do you go into it more fearful than you did maybe pre the Newcastle game, when we hadn't lost in that manner to Newcastle and Wolves still had their Gary O'Neill?
Not really, because Newcastle were in a false position, in my view. There might have been 4 teams before the game kicked off. Well, let's get things right. This is a team with probably a top 8 squad, top 7 squad of players. They've got so much attacking threat on the bench to change things. Yes, they've got injuries, but they could still bring on some quality players. They could keep Harvey Barnes on the bench and then bring him on in the second half. I just looked at the Newcastle game and say, yes, we lost 4-0, but it's not a game that you're going to sit there and think, oh, no, the wheels have fell off after 3 games for Van Nistelrooy. It just didn't work. The players didn't get it right. We just didn't get it right on the day. I still think the players will be confident what they can do against Wolves because you look at Wolves' games and they've been dreadful. And to lose 2 of their best, hopefully lose 2 of their best players in the game, that's even worse than going to this game now. And, okay, Gary O'Neill's gone. We'd rather he would have been here. But do you know what? Still, whoever comes in is not going to get that kind of tactical nous into these players in the space of 3 days, 4 days, even if they appoint him in the next 48 hours. It just doesn't change them. We have to concentrate on us. We have to concentrate on our performance and what we're going to do against Wolves, how we set ourselves up, how we move ourselves around the pitch, how we're going to play as a formation, whatever we do. Is it 4-4-2, 4-3-3? That's all we need to do. If we go in and get it right, then we beat Wolves. I truly believe that. I don't look, and that's not being arrogant. I just think we are a better team than Wolves at the moment. And I think if we concentrate on ourselves and get it right, we beat Wolves quite comfortably on the day.
Well, I'm not feeling as confident as you, Tom, at all. I must admit, I don't know. Dorco says Leicester Wolves is always 0-0. I remember it being 4-4. There's been all sorts of results, Dorco, over the years against Wolves, so who knows? Michael says we won't be anywhere near Europe while we've got these owners. I don't necessarily agree with you on that, Michael, but I hear what you're saying. Mark says Wolves could get the bounce. Now O'Neill has gone. Have it right in there. Nick says, of course, they'll have a manager in place. It's only us. It takes over a week to point. We got it done within a week, Nick, but I know what you're saying there. Andy Medhurst says Saturday showed us that we don't have enough strength in depth to stay in this league. I hope we do, but I think it shows you that once you get Andy outside that best 11 or 12, and again, part of the debate we've not even gotten to today is JJ's clearly struggling, but there is literally nobody to come in for him. We are down to that sort of level. Reedy, just talking about that, not so much JJ, because I think JJ will still start on Sunday. Reedy, who do you chuck back in and say, right, this has got to work?
Well, the first name on that team sheet is definitely Sumari. I think the last couple of weeks he's been instrumental in winning games, and he obviously getting the draw against Brighton. But for me, yeah, Sumari comes in. Defense, if I'm totally honest, I wouldn't change it. People are going to be like, get Vestergaard out the team, but realistically, are you going to want to put FaZe back in that team? Probably not.
Not really.
Exactly. And the last 2 games before this Newcastle game, I thought both the defenders had a good game. So, like I said, you've got to forget the Newcastle game and look into this one and think who does come in. Other than that, I think Buonanotte has to come back in because obviously he was dropped against Newcastle. Other than that, I think the team stays pretty much the same. It's just that other defensive midfielder. If Winks isn't fit, which is my first choice if he is, but if not, is it Skip? Because I don't think Rude will ever put Chowdhury back in that role after seeing the appearance on Saturday. So,
Kate, do you agree with where Reedy's going with those players coming in? There's not a lot of choice.
There's not a lot of choice. The only thing that I wonder whether Rude will roll the dice on, but maybe not because of how important a game it is that now he knows the capacity of Hamza and maybe Skip, will we see anything of Cartwright? It may be too early, but he's obviously really trying to consider and pull in some of that have come of age, basically. So he might consider that. He may make an appearance on the bench again, and Hamza might lose his spot. Who knows? But yeah, I'd like to see Winks and Samare. I think if he wants to go more defensive and Wilf's fit, maybe he'll go for that. But I'd like to see Winks and Samare for me for sure. And
Kate, does Mavididi keep his starting position?
No.
No, I would agree. Who would you put in?
I think Bilal on the left for me, and I think Buonanotte in the middle. The only thing I would say about Buonanotte is we've just got to be careful with this because I love how he plays. I think he's great at keeping the ball, but we also want to make sure that we bring some of our other attacking options on because Buonanotte isn't ours, and we've got to give him back. And whilst you absolutely want to utilise him correctly to help us stay up, you also want to make sure you bring your others along with you that are here on a permanent. So it's a tough call to make with Buonanotte, but he absolutely should be in ahead of Mavididi for me. I think Mavididi, as with a lot of wingers, they can be hot and cold. That's the temperament of the position. But Mavididi wasted his opportunity on Saturday. And I feel like some of that's laziness. I don't think he really understands how hard you have to work in the Prem when you're playing for Leicester City. Like we've seen it for the past 5 or 6 years before. We didn't win the league because we were a Manchester City. We won the league because we wanted it more than anybody else, and we worked our socks off, and we had a couple of bits of magic in the team as well. But he's got to work harder. He's got to work on his fitness. He's a young lad, so he should be absolutely capable of it. I mean, look at VK and JJ. They're up and down those wings. Their fitness must be unreal. And Mavadidi's got to get that tenacity and fitness levels, and then he may be in with a shout because he has got some bits of magic in him.
But Kate, I totally agree with everything you've said there. The only thing I would say is I don't class Mavididi as young because he's 26. I think I think it tells you where he's at, that this is his first real chance at the Premier League. Whereas players who've got that Premier League magic are at it at 18, 19, 20. And I know that doesn't always do it, but I'm not seeing Kate in blow that hot very often this season.
True. Yeah, I do agree with that. So you've got to, when you're in the rut like we are, we can't be holding on to people that handicap us a bit, really. We feel a bit restricted with him. He doesn't cover, he doesn't help VK back out in defence, and he doesn't take his man on. So, you thought he would have seen encouragement from Gordon at the weekend. Gordon was so direct, and I wish Mavididi would have said, yeah, that's what I need to do. I just need to go at it, because Gordon can be hot and cold as well. But Gordon had a really good game because we allowed him to a little bit, but also because he's so direct, fearless, I'm going for it, hack me down or take the ball off me. And he doesn't think like that, unfortunately.
No, Tom, listen, we've not got long left. We're overrunning as ever. The Wolves game, you're going into that very confident. Give us one of your score predictions then, Tom.
3-1 Leicester. Won't kick it. Yeah, I'm confident. I generally am. Like I said, for me, go with the same team against West Ham. Until he's not fit, change it to Winks, and that would be it for me. Don't change too much in there. Don't muck around it. Get Soumare back in the middle of the park. Winks is back out on the training pitch with some photos I've seen today. If he's fit, he plays, in my view, in the middle of the park with Soumare. Put Casey back, keep Casey on the right-hand side like we did against West Ham. Keep El Canous on the left because he works his socks off back and forth. Buonanotte back into the middle and Vardy up front. Go back to something that worked. It worked against West Ham. Go back to something like that and just see where it goes. For me, though, 3-1 to Leicester on the weekend. I really am confident. Don't know why, just am. I think we'll get the job done and we'll be sitting here on Sunday very happy.
Let's hope so. Reedy, give us your early predictions.
Oh, it depends if Mads or Ward's in goal. That's the difference.
You really feel like that?
That is for me. That is the difference in winning or losing the game. I'm not blaming Ward on the fact we'll lose. I'm just saying that, like Thomas said, the confidence in players with having either him or Ward in goal is, for me,
so at 12, so. Reedy, you're saying at 12:45.
You're not blaming Danny Ward if you lose. Yeah. If you lose, you will lose if he starts.
I think there'll be a lot.
12:45. Reedy, team sheets out. Danny Ward, you're not even going in.
Well, no, but you even said that Mads Hermansen saves unsavable shots at times. For me, that alone wins you games, and I don't see that in doing it in Danny Ward. So for me, if Danny Ward starts, I'd take a draw. But if Mads Hermansen's in, we'll win 4-2.
Well, I mean, Reedy, what I meant by that is Mads keeps it to 1-0 against Newcastle. Ward is going to run away. So I'm not quite as defeated as you if it's one keeper or the other. Kate, what is your score predictions and just brief thoughts, because it's still a few days away? I feel like
it's going to be a really tense 2-1, 1-0, like one goal margin, I think. I agree with what Reedy says. I'm hoping that, I've just read in the chat there that Stolichik is in the reserves tonight. I know he's only just come back to full training from that quite serious injury. So with any luck, he might be further along in his recovery. But a Premier League 6-pointer is a really big game to throw him in. So hopefully Mads will be better. But if not, we've just got to do better defensively. You've got to protect your keeper. For me, that makes me work harder as a defender, knowing that I've not got, Mads behind me. But I don't think it quite works like that with some. But look, I think the midfield will be the difference. As long as we've not got Skip and Chowdhury together, I think that will be the difference. Because I quite like Cody and Yannick together. I know they didn't cover themselves in glory at the weekend, but nobody did. And I quite like Yannick and Cody together. So I think if we can get Winks, Samare or Ndidi back, 2 of those 3, then I'm hopeful that we'll win.
It's going to be an interesting game. Michael says clean sheet, please. Michael, I don't think we'll see many clean sheets this season, and I'm not expecting to see one against Wolves. Terry says it's going to be a very, very nervy game. An early goal would help. I think that's an understatement, Terry, that it's going to be nervy. Peter Taylor says, bring Ward in, then you're playing with no goalie. Bit harsh, but I know what you're saying. Nick says, Cody and Okoli for me in defence. I think you all know my opinions on Yannick Vestergaard, and that was Yannick Vestergaard that I think on Saturday against Newcastle.
Just to add a bit of positivity, like Newcastle conceded 4-2 at Brentford, away to Brentford.
Away at Brentford, yeah.
So if they can lose 4, then score 4, then we can lose 4 and then score 4. Because that's how the Premier League goes sometimes.
Well, I will say positivity every week.
I was going to say, are we all saying this is a must win? Like, you can't even draw this game. This has to be a must win.
Given the future fixtures over the next 10 games for both clubs, this is massive.
Yeah. And it's like saying, if Wolves don't get any points against us, where are then the next points going to come from? Like you said, Kate, the next 10 games is absolutely horrific for them. Like ours isn't much better, but they're nowhere near as bad as that. So,
but we've got like 6 more points on the board, haven't we?
Yes.
I'd rather have the points on the board than not, and that is, yeah.
Well, you go 9 points clear.
Yeah,
that's the difference. You win the game, you're 9 points clear. Wolves. Obviously, Ipswich are at home to Newcastle at the weekend. No easy game for them. Southampton have got another tricky game. And, well, the way they're performing, whoever comes in is going to need a miracle there. But you suddenly, 9 points clear of second from bottom. You could be 5 points clear of Ipswich by the end of Sunday. It could be a very good weekend again if we get it right.
Yeah, I think you're right. Craig says there, well, we can't play that badly again, surely. I don't know. Brentford and Newcastle was 2 in 4 games there, Craig, so you never know. Let's hope not. Listen, I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. Tom and Reedy, as ever, thanks for joining us. Thanks, chaps.
Cheers, mate.
And a big thanks to Kate. Kate, you've been a star. Just tell us where we can follow you week in, week out.
I'm on Twitter at Kate Blakey40, and I also do the odd shows for Leicester Till I Die and Blue Tinted Glasses as well.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Kate, for joining us. Last couple of comments here for some score prediction. Richie gets the last one in here. 4-0 to Leicester. Thanks, Richie, for being so positive. So for everybody who's watched us tonight, thanks to Tom, Reedy, Kate. We'll see you all down at the match. Don't forget, this week, Reedy and Sam will be doing a tactics team talk on Thursday. Simon and Jono will be doing a pre-match preview on Thursday night at 7:30. Jamie will be live from the Fox's Arms doing an aftermath show, which of course is a pre-match show because they put it to Sunday at 2 o'clock. And we'll see you down at the game. So from me, Kate, Tom and Reedy, thanks everybody for all your views and all your comments. And we'll see you at the match on Sunday. Come on, Leicester.
The Leicester City machine is on the march again.
Leicester Fan TV presents a variety of content like fan discussions, match analysis, and engaging with Leicester fans worldwide. We want your views live, thanks to our sponsors, Everard's, Pucker Pies, Hologram, Take Me, Newbie & Co, and the Fox's Arms.
Want to watch more content like this? Hit the like button. Give us your views. Hit subscribe to Leicester Fan TV and make sure to follow Leicester Fan TV on all socials.